A working nation is a walking nation. That was the fate of every single Kenyan that does not drive a PSV or a private vehicle, or those Kenyans who did not have 150 shillings, 200, 300, or even 400 shillings to pay to get to work. Why? Because of the ongoing PSV crackdown. Now Kenyans are asking, until when? The words of Dr. Fred Matiang'i, until sanity is restored in the public transport industry. The hashtag Business News. Tell us what your thoughts are on the ongoing PSV crackdown. My name is Ondiro Ganga. Thank you very much for tuning into BrandPlus TV. It's always a delight knowing that you've taken your time and are keeping us company. We are ready to bring you all the top stories making headlines in the business world. And as you know, we're all about business. Here is a glance of some of those stories.
I would like to congratulate the Kenya Medical Women's Association for hosting this conference.
Muya Regional Conference for Near East and Africa, Women's Health, a matter of urgency. Third Annual Kenya Mining Forum, where does the digging stop? Africa Academy for Tax and Financial Crime Investigation launched. Financial criminals, your days are numbered. Kenya Medical Women Association has today officially kicked off Medical Women's International Association Regional Conference for Near East and Africa in Nairobi. The theme is Advancing of Women's Health Agenda as a driver for the attainment of the Development Goals, SDGs and AU 2063. Our reporter Daisy Wambo attended the official opening and brings us the following reports.
While giving the keynote address during the opening ceremony of the Day 4 event, former President of the Malawi Republic, Her Excellency Dr. Joyce Banda, highlighted some of the challenges that women need to overcome so as to rise in top leadership positions.
I've spent my life fighting against this unnecessary abuse of innocent women. But it was while I was living here that I became aware of what should happen to me and what shouldn't happen to me. Awareness creation, as Senator Beth Mugo said, is very, very important.
She also broke down the reason that made her decide to focus on fighting the unnecessary deaths of women during childbirth.
1,200 women were dying giving birth in Malawi per 100,000 live births. The worst two countries in Africa, Sierra Leone and Malawi. At least Sierra Leone was recovering from war. But Malawi had no excuse. And I decided that I shall spend my life fighting this unnecessary death of women dying while giving life. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, this is totally unacceptable that we should just sit around and watch women die.
Thank you very much.
While outlining the statistics of women who die while giving birth, she noted that stakeholders have failed women by not achieving the set Millennium Development Goals on maternal deaths.
830 women die from preventable causes giving birth around the world. In the United States, it's 26 women out of 100,000 mothers. In Kenya, it's 510. And in Malawi, when I became president, I found that the figure was at 675 women out of 100,000 women were dying giving life. Unfortunately, the Millennium Development Goals set the global figure for reducing maternal death to 115 per 100,000. But we failed to achieve this, and in turn failed the women of Africa. Sadly, this was not the only goal we failed to achieve. MDG 3 as well, gender equality and women's empowerment, was the other, and ironically, both had to do with women.
Motherhood, unlike fatherhood.
The former president further outlined the role of an improved maternal, newborn and child health systems to the development of a nation.
Improvements in maternal, newborn and child health are critical to overall development of nations. A huge body of research work and general experience have shown quite remarkable results of tangible returns on investment in maternal health, which are far-reaching. In many of our countries, especially in developing countries, many young women between the ages of 15 and 19 years die giving birth. This is because of poverty, illiteracy, culture, and lack of opportunities, because that is the age gap where they should be in secondary school. As a result of this, they end up getting married early and giving birth early before their bodies are mature.
The chief guest and nominated Senator Beth Mugo, while opening the conference, spoke on the association between the state of women's health and their rights in matters development goals.
There is an important link between women's health and women's rights. No development goals can be met unless the rights of women are realized, and it is for this reason that I strongly support the African Union's goal on gender equality. At the international level, the United Nations Sustainable Development Goal number 3 dedicates to ensuring healthy lives and promote the well-being of all at all ages.
She went on to point out the need for the governments and the key stakeholders to increase funding in the health sector in an effort to improve awareness not only for cancer cases but for all medical problems.
The awareness creation should therefore not be confined to cancer alone, but also to other non-communicable diseases. The other critical area is the issue of funding. It is common knowledge that many public health facilities in the developing world, especially sub-Saharan Africa, still remains under-equipped and understaffed. This is largely due to underfunding of the health sector. As we commend the national governments, regional bodies, and international organizations in coming up with sound initiatives towards the promotion of health, we must not lose sight of the fact that these noble initiatives will remain a mirage unless governments commit to improve the funding of the health sector.
John Tipis from the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, who spoke in the capacity of Principal Secretary of the Ministry, Macharia Kamau, pointed out the need for the challenges of women's health be addressed in an effort to achieve the Sustainable Development Goals and AU 2063 agenda.
This conference, predicated on the theme of accelerating women's health, priorities and opportunities through Sustainable Development Goals and the African Union Agenda 2063, affords us an excellent opportunity to exchange views and ideas on how to accelerate the process of mainstreaming women's health. Most significantly, this conference gives us a platform to assert and reaffirm that the health of women matters.
UNFPA.
Dr. Ademola Olajide, the Kenya representative of the United Nations Population Fund, pointed out that good health of women was a critical factor for countries to achieve development.
The opportunities provided by the SDGs and the African Union Agenda 2063 for advancing women's health is strategic and is very opportune. The Sustainable Development Goals were put together for the very purpose of protecting the environment, eradicating poverty, and promoting peace and prosperity. And the African Union Vision 2063 was put together also for the same reasons, where Africa wants to deliver the Africa we want, which is a peaceful, prosperous Africa, driven by its own citizens and playing its role on the global agenda. And therefore, where we do not pay sufficient attention to the health of women, we neglect the capacity of nations to achieve sustainable development.
Women face many challenges, including a heavy burden of ill health, which results in high morbidity and mortality rates among them. They are also subjected to many societal injustices and harmful socio-cultural practices, which further impact on their health and development. Thus, good health for them is needed as they are responsible for the welfare of their families as well as the socio-economic development of nations. Reporting for BrandPlus TV Business News, I am Daisy Wambua.
The Kenya Chamber of Mines today held the 3rd annual Kenya Mining Forum at the Safari Park Hotel, Nairobi. The forum was officially opened by Cabinet Secretary Petroleum and Mining John Munyes, who pledged the government's commitment to growing the mining sector. Take a look.
I'm excited to be here to share with you and to give insights in terms of mining.
Relevant stakeholders in the mining sector, both at the national and county level, gathered today for the kickoff of the Kenya Mining Forum. The chief guest, Cabinet Secretary Petroleum and Mining John Munyes, said his ministry intends to increase the contribution of mining to the GDP from 1% to 10% by 2022. To achieve this, he said the government is putting in place strategies to attract investors.
Licensing for prospecting, mining and dealer licenses. Landowners' consent. Legislation with specific attention to inconsistencies in the Mining Act 2016 and public participation on regulations related to mining. The issue of royalties. And finally, the issue of export permits. In order to address the 5 areas of concern above, my ministry and KCM, together with the Kenya Private Sector Alliance, KEPSA, have agreed on formation of joint working groups. This process is now finalized, and serious engagements of the working groups will facilitate dialogue to help adequately address these issues going forward.
With foreign and local investment being one of the key ways of growing the sector, more incentives are being brought forth to attract investment in the mining sector. Bahati Morara, Commercial Director, Nairobi Securities Exchange Kenya, noted that the NSE has drafted and implemented incentives that will serve well the companies that are seeking to list in the mining sector.
For the other companies, what we're trying to do is look at tax incentives, for example. For example, now if today you list your company, you'll not pay stamp duty. Whether you are increasing share capital, whether you're doing any transfers, no stamp duty. That applies also to capital gains tax, so there's no capital gains tax. And then from January 2003, we've actually lowered the corporate tax for listed companies. So instead of paying 30%, you pay 25%, which is much less than what other companies pay, and this is for the first 5 years. So then if you look at the ultimate effect in your balance sheet, it's very good. And then in addition to that, any costs you incur during the IPO, we're talking about the legal costs, any other incidental costs, all that, those are tax deductible. So when you're doing your tax returns, you net them off before you compute tax.
The industry has in the recent past brought the government revenues in various forms, as explained by Abel Chumba, Chairman, Mineral Rights Board Kenya.
We find that when you make an application, there is some fees you pay. You pay application fee, you also pay what you call ground rates, and when you are granted a mining license, you will be paying royalty to the government at specified rates. They vary from one mineral to another one.
Continue engaging and networking.
However, the sector is not short of challenges. As the chairman of the Kenya Chamber of Mines, Dr. Cedric Simonet, highlighted, the mining laws need to be reviewed so as to level the playing field for all those who are involved.
First, the Mining Act is not investor-friendly. As much as it is a progressive piece of legislation, it still has critical flaws that prevent investment, and these flaws must be amended urgently. Secondly, the rule of law must be applied uniformly, not just to the people who are the most likely to comply. When I say applied uniformly, I don't talk only about mining and exploration company, I talk about all stakeholders. Another pressing issue is the sharing of royalties between national governments, county governments, and host communities. The Kenya Chamber of Mines has been lobbying for this for over 10 years. The principle is now in the law, but for lack of regulations, This crucial measure has not been implemented yet. This is extremely urgent. This will go a long way in reducing tensions between miners, county governments, and communities. We believe that the government must take a strong leadership role in addressing these issues, and the Chamber will provide all the support it can.
An agenda which they call...
The mining sector last year recorded revenues of up to 23.8 billion Kenya shillings. This is just a drop in the ocean in comparison to the mineral potential Kenya has and how much it can make from it if fully and properly explored. Well, on that note, let's head for a short commercial break, but do stay with us as we still have so much more lined up for you on the other side, including some taxman news on ways of combating financial crime. Stay with us. Welcome back and thank you for staying with us. Now on to matters tax offences. KRA today marked the official launch of the Africa Academy for Tax and Financial Crime Investigations. The forum explored the theme asset recovery, freezing and seizing assets. Our reporter attended the event and tells us more.
Country into. So thank you very much and karibuni.
The Kenya Revenue Authority today launched Africa Academy for Tax and Financial Crime Investigation by developing skills of tax and financial crime investigators through intensive training course. The 8-day course is set to improve the ability of tax crime investigators to detect and combat tax offences as well as other financial crimes. While officially opening the training,
I would like to declare this training officially opened.
Dr. Edward Karanja, Acting Deputy Commissioner, Kenya Revenue Authority Investigation Department, pointed out to the participants that the asset recovery discourages financial crimes.
Where there are these financial crimes, there must be financial benefit. If you're able to take away that financial benefit, then will there be motivation for anybody to engage in those things? I don't think there will be any motivation.
And the consultant tells him...
Dr. Fred Mugambi Mwirigi, Acting Head of Kenya School of Revenue Administration, which is the Kenya Revenue Authority's premier training school specializing in tax and custom administration, fiscal policy and management, reiterated why the training is important.
To be able to equip participants from various agencies, Kenya Revenue Authority, the Anti-Corruption Commission, Central Bank of Kenya, and all these other agencies with the skills that are required to be able to track, criminally acquired assets that are hidden in various parts, not just outside the country, but even within the country itself.
Please just give some
In an effort to learn from the best, and with UK being one of the global leaders in asset recovery, David Cowie, Assistant Director, Her Majesty's Revenue and Custom, shared some of the practices that Kenya can borrow from the United Kingdom.
We develop strategies, we use tools, we use techniques, we engage across government, not only with government organisations, but with also the commercial sector, the banking industry and other financial institutions. And it is those relationships that really give us the opportunity to close down the networks that criminals operate in and track them across the globe, because it's a global problem. Money will move from UK to Kenya to anywhere else in the world. And with technology, as was referred to, that can be done in a matter of minutes now, whereas in the past it was very, very difficult. And these are the problems we face. And being perfectly honest, the criminals are very good at what they do. They're always one step ahead of the government on occasions, but we are catching them, and we want them to be looking in the rearview mirror and know that we are behind them.
Has obtained a lot of money corruptly.
As the Kenya Revenue Authority steps up to combat tax offences and financial crimes, all hopes are that its effort will be fruitful and the money recovered will increase the country's pool of revenue for development.
Public service and administration serves a critical role as it is the bridge between government and its citizens. It is for this reason that today's state parties to the charters on values and principles of public service and administration convened for the first conference at the Kenya School of Government. Our field team was present and brings us the following report.
If you look at the public sector,
while delivering Cabinet Secretary Public Service, Youth and Gender Affairs Professor Margaret Kobiel's speech, the Youth Principal Secretary Dr. Francis Owino first highlighted the objectives of the Charter.
The objectives are to 1. Promote the principles and values contained therein. 2. Ensure quality and innovative service delivery that meets the requirements of all users. 3. Encourage the efforts of member states in modernizing administration and strengthening capacity for the involvement of public service. 4. Encourage citizens and users of public services to actively and effectively participate in public administration processes. 5. Promote the moral values inherent in the activities of public service agents with a view to ensuring transparent service delivery. 6. Improve the working conditions of public service agents and ensure the protection of their rights. 7. Encourage the harmonization of policies and procedures related to public service and administration among member states with the aim of promoting regional and continental integration. 8. Promote equality between men and women, as well as equality within public service and administration services. 9. Strengthen cooperation among member states, regional economic communities, and the international community for the improvement of public service and administration. And to 10, finally, encourage the exchange of experiences and best practices in order to create a database of information within member states.
The CS's speech went on to note the importance of the adoption of the guidelines that will direct implementation of the Charter.
I call upon you to critically examine them for adequacy and ease of application. Notably, the adoption of the guidelines will be an important milestone in guiding the member states towards the implementation.
As the continent's heads of public service convene tomorrow for the adoption of the guidelines of the Charter, we can only hope that this will bring the continent a step closer to excellent public service delivery.
Documents. So